Well, James, my guy.
Games. Hey, we wear bandanas. All right, ready?
We're cool. Yeah.
Okay. Get it out.
Yeah. What's it? It's just phlegm.
Hello, and welcome back to Games My Guy podcast, the esports podcast by fans for fans. My name is Patrick Aches Avery Kenny, and joined as always is my bandana brother, Ethan Doc Goose Butler. How's it going, brother?
you know, it's okay. Things have been better, but I think they may get better.
They may.
So there's
They
that.
may. It's
Who
true.
knows?
Yeah. Is it the
I don't know.
is it the matches in week 21 that were getting you down? Is that what's happening?
Patrick, this was not a good weekend.
No.
Well, it was kind of a good weekend for one of my teams. Well, for two. Unfortunately, those two teams beat my other two teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was not a good weekend, but it was also a good weekend. It was a very confusing time.
Yeah, there was some pretty good games. I mean,
Yeah,
for like I just looking at the schedule again, that Vancouver Boston game must have been a pretty fun one to watch for you.
I was very conflicted on that game. Like I was so it's like I'm a big Boston fan, and so I was super not happy seeing what was going on. But I also am a Titans fan, and I write about the Titans, so I was
Mm.
also really excited to see the Titans like get another 3-0. Like that was pretty sick. I won't lie. Like
Yeah,
I was I was
you wrote
I
an
was
article
riding high.
you wrote an article, didn't you, about them doing making a win streak kind of a thing?
I did, yeah. Like for my team preview, I talked about how this, if they were able to do it, would establish their first win streak since the rebuild,
Hmm.
and they did it with a two back-to-back 3-0s, nonetheless. Like it wasn't even just like a close match. Like Dalton Shockley ran away with it, and the rest of the team played really well. Like Rolf and Tartar are starting to show up big. Like I had my complaints about Tartar a lot throughout
Mm-hmm.
this rebuild, but I'm starting to see more improvements from him. I'm really liking KSA. I won't lie. That dude's on like 200 ping, and he is just killing it. Like his Satan is unreal, and I'm so happy to see. Because people were shitting on these guys until I don't know why they're saying, oh, the contenders players. Like that's an insult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and so there's talent on this roster,
Yeah.
and I think they will add more. But I think they're on the right path. They have a good coaching staff, a proven coaching staff from Second Wind too. So I think they're on the right path.
Yeah. And just like when you're talking about Car, I totally feel that too. Like that
Mm-hmm.
kid is so teachable. It's insane. And now that they're in a meta where you need to be good at two heroes or three heroes maybe for if you're on support or tank, like he's really excelling in that role, I
Mm-hmm.
find. Um
He's better than people. Oh, I think he was also maybe a bit rusty because when he got picked up, I think he hadn't played for contenders. He'd been teamless for maybe a month, and so he probably
oh.
hadn't played at the highest level in a little bit. That's just speculation, but I think that led into it. And now that he's in a team environment, he's got structure and weekly scrims and something to work towards. I think things are starting to look better.
Yeah, yeah. You can definitely see the uphill swing for Vancouver. But we should start the podcast
Of
and
course,
just get it out of the way. I think we should
we
just
have
get it out
to.
of the way. I think
If we
that's
if
all
we
we got to do. It's like a
if we sit
band-aid.
on this if we sit on this too long, we're just gonna get mad, and
Yeah.
we're gonna start to be frustrated and grumpy, and we don't want to be grumpy.
You know what?
We
Let's
like
turn
to
the
feel.
podcast off. Let's just turn it off. I don't want to
I
talk.
mean,
Okay.
yeah.
So Toronto Defiant versus Dallas Fuel. We talked a lot about it coming up to it. We talked about it in the not the podcast that was released last, but the one before, where we are talking about how we were excited for this match because this is a winnable match for Toronto, all that stuff. It was a 3-0 for Dallas Fuel. And let's talk about some of the good that we saw from Toronto, but at this point, 2-3-0s, we're not winning games that we should be winning.
Yep.
I am now cheering for a 5-11 team. It's frustrating. It's pretty frustrating.
It is. Like I cheer now for teams that are 2-11, I think.
Oh my god.
5-11. Vancouver's got on the up, but I think they're like 4-9. Well, that's to be fair. They had some things to on,
Mm,
but it's been rough, man. Season three's been a bit of a year,
yeah,
and it's only been 6 months.
I'm gonna start calling you bottom of the bin Butler until your team start performing well.
That's very appropriate. I've made my bed and I'm laying in it, but and I don't quit. Don't get me wrong. I've had many moments where I thought, you know what, is this worth it? Is my suffering worth this? But then they win a game after 3 months, and it feels so good, and that'll
Yeah,
last me another 3 months.
yeah,
But no, I think it's just we were so happy. Okay, they got 3-0 to start things off. Things were looking good. It was there was light in the world, and then it went away real fast. Right after
fast.
we talked about how look at these guys, look, they're so good, they were great. Numlot, hell yeah, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Seb is man, just it's
Yeah,
been just want them to be good.
yeah. Well, we in the things that looked. Let's start with the good, I guess. So it was a 3-0. We
Yeah.
kind of have to pick the needle in the haystack to really talk about what Toronto did well.
Mhm.
But I think if you go back to Lijiang Tower and you go back to that first control map, that was a great set for Toronto, mostly because we were running the dive comp that we've been praising Toronto Defiant forever. And this meta is really, really weird. It's this meta is weird, but it allows for teams to play dive, which is really, really exciting.
Mhm.
But most of the time we're running into Orisa Sigma comps. And whenever Toronto plays dive against Orisa Sigma comps, it always works super, super well. But whenever we play dive into a mirror match or we play Orisa Sigma into a mirror match, for some reason the other team gets more value or they find more opportunities or they're more creative with the comp. And it's really been a big sore spot for Toronto Defiant is playing these mirror matchups. But the dive looked great.
It did.
It
It
did.
did.
It did. I was surprised to see Numlock out for the dive. And this is a question I'll ask to you. You know, we've been talking about Numlock. We love Numlock,
We of
but
course Seb. We
Seb,
don't know you,
we
but if
don't know
we'd
you.
like to be on first name basis.
Seb, we don't know you, but we want to know you. If
Yes.
that's any consolation. But does the Toronto dive look better with Numlocked or worse with Numlocked, or do you even see a difference?
Well, like look, Beast is his strongest hero is Winston, undeniably, and they've had some success with him in that dive. Numlocked isn't a slouch on Winston though. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if he's the problem. I saw some good mechanics of him, like he was doing some things like Gamsu was doing, where he was like he would when he was primaling, he'd be able to block off both entrances at once and make sure they couldn't touch the point, like stalling out. They're really really well played stuff. But I think I don't like there's he's a good player, but I don't even know if he's the problem. I think there's just a
Mm-hmm.
disconnect at times between the tank line. I won't lie, because
Totally.
Numlot sometimes seems to be. I think Numlot likes to be in the face of the other team. That's just where he lives. That's where he loves. And sometimes Nevitz is a more passive player. He'll be aggressive with Diva and go get pits and things like that. But on Sigma, I've noticed him start to be like just off where he shouldn't be. Like his positioning has been so weird these past 2 games. He keeps getting caught out on his own. It looks like he's maybe going for a reset, but then just doesn't go for a reset. And there's just something missing the connection between these two. And I don't know if you put Beast in there if that helps out for the dive. But you need to have something I think with the DPS also needs to be in line with that dive, and that's one of the things that was strong, especially on that first map that you talked about, like agilities. Nevitz and Numlock seemed to be on the same page. They
Yeah.
would go in, they'd get the pick, and get out.
Yeah.
But and
Net.
I really want to see more of that.
Yeah. Agility's had a really great game. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. It was really great to see Agility's out there and playing Genji and like playing these
Mm-hmm.
super aggressive like heroes. And he looked good on it. But once we got into the mirrors, once we started playing Orisa Sigma, it was a whole
No.
other story and that's really hurting our payload maps. Like it's hurting a lot of our stuff, but payload maps are really hard for us. We can't like I'm just looking back at some of the different times where we've run payload maps, and it's I mean it there's a lot to be said about how maps like Watchpoint Gibraltar could go. And like with that one, that was a 3-2 going for Dallas Fuel. And it was close, but like you said, Nevix, it just he plays a much more of a control style where
Mhm.
he's really focused on peeling for backline, and he's aggressive, but he's only aggressive when he sees an opening that he feels really confident about. It feels like, and on a Sigma and an Orisa Sigma comp, you got to be aggressive because that Orisa is not moving. That
No,
Orisa is
Sigma's
gonna
the one who's pushing,
exactly.
and like that final point, like that looked like that map should have gone to more rounds. Like Toronto blazed, like just had a good time on the first point, then absolutely blazed through point two with the spaceship with the ship.
Yeah,
Like that was ridiculous speed. Like they got through that so fast.
yeah.
And then they had like over 4 minutes. They had so much. I don't know if I think it was around 4 minutes. It seemed to push from to the C to
Mm-hmm.
yeah to the three
Yeah,
or B to C whatever. And so, but they just couldn't get it done. To they fail in the clutch time and time again to get that extra little push. Like even agilities would get like a pretty solid blade, but the rest of the team would already be dead. Like there's a disconnect. Like even when someone's playing well, the Criven agilities, I think we're on the same page for most of that game. They're a good duo. They understand each other. They understand how each other want to play.
mm-hmm.
But man, they're so meek at times in game, and that's not something you need to be.
Yeah,
Especially if you're gonna be run. If you want to run the Genji, you need to have if the Genji's going in. You need to support him. Like the Genji can do a lot of things with the Nano Blade, but you need to be able to follow up on the kills maybe he doesn't get. If he can get someone down to half health, someone needs to be following that up. Like
yeah,
Nevitz with some spears, Numlots with some shootings,
yeah. And which
Cruz
is
someone.
someone exactly, and which is why it's so interesting that they seem so meek on this Orisa Sigma comp, but on dive everyone understands their job so well. It's very funny that way. But I think we should also talk a little bit about the meta right now, because
Yeah.
Toronto definitely lost pretty hard in this meta. It's really hard for some reason for us to play Baptiste and Brig and make that work. But it is the devil's playground for DPS players. Like we saw Ashe this weekend, we saw Genji this weekend, we saw Tracer, we saw Echo, we saw Junkrat, like we saw
Hanzo.
Hanzo. Like we're seeing everything from the DPS lineup. And
Yeah.
then when you look at main tank players, they're playing Orisa, maybe Winston if they're playing dive, ball first stall, and that's it. It's
We saw like a very small sample size of Reinhardt. I think
yes,
very briefly, I know Boston played Reinhardt against the Titans on like the first point,
yeah,
and they actually look good. And so I think Reinhardt has his place. He aids in that type of more brawly play style, but you need to commit to that, obviously, and people more practice to playing the double shield. And yeah, you're right. Maintain players have it a bit rough right now. Like
it's
they have,
hard. It's
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 not
a
an easy role because no matter what happens, even if your team plays well, you're not really going to get a lot of the praise when you're on Risa. Your team plays bad, you will be the focal point.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Just because there's really not much you can offer other than like the halts and your bongo and your shield and positioning yourself well. But if your shield breaks or you use your halt at the wrong time, that's it. You're just you're a horse with a gun shooting at people, and
You're,
that's
you're
it.
just waddling around, hoping for the best, and it's just sometimes does not work out.
Yeah, it's tough being a main tank. Like even if you look at like I've been watching a couple of GM streams,
Mm-hmm.
even just watching like someone like Clone Man who is now relegated to playing Orisas pretty much exclusively. He still plays Reinhardt every once in a while, but you
Mm-hmm.
can just see that it's frustrating. It's really frustrating to play as an Orisa.
And very few of those maintains are like happy to play Ariza.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
some
not
of
I'm not
them,
happy to play Orisa.
I know you're not. I know. And I remember whenever we have to say, "All right, Patrick, go Orisa."
Yeah.
There's a moment of silence, and then the character is selected,
Yeah, that moment
and then just
is the light in my soul just like withering away.
and then just the saddest shot towards the door. It's just a real head down. In game, the head is down. It's not just your head down. I'm just talking about the characters are looking down.
Yeah.
You know where you need to go. You know where you need to be, but you're not happy about it. And
It
like even on the only time Arisa is remotely, I don't hate Arisa, but she's only really truly fun on like well, just because
when
you have
you
the
can get, yeah,
opportunity to like those fun. That's I like getting that.
getting
Anytime you have a
environmental
chance to
kills.
yank people off, that's fantastic. But if you can't do that, it's just shooting. It's just pointing, shooting, halting,
Yeah.
fortifying,
Yeah.
even fortifying. Oh, good lord! But
Yeah, Orisa needs a lot of help in order to like be very, very effective. Like if someone needs to follow up on your halts, or when you use bongos, you're hoping that another ultimate is used at the same time. A lot of it feels like a lot of other main tanks, like Reinhardt and Winston, they have a lot more options to what to do and
it's
how
just
to
more fun to
approach.
watch.
Yeah.
Like I love my favorite main tank to watch is Reinhardt.
Hmm.
Like some people adore Winston. I like Winston a lot, but good lord, I just love seeing a Ryan main just up swinging. It's just such a hoot. It's just a hoot,
It's a
and
hoot.
they're just
It's true.
having it's a hoot and a half. Just he's just having so you can hear almost hear them just having so much. You can screaming, guys, I'm going in, Nano. You can almost hear it, and it warms my heart. But like even with Arisa, I just would rather they play like Sigma was fine, but oh my goodness, just play Hod just for the fans. Sigma Hod was sorry, Arisa Hod, the halt hook, the pull and port, whatever you want, the pull port, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
was so good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that meta. You didn't even realize how maybe boring Arisa could be just because you were watching for that hook,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just
And
that's fun.
you visibly see Orissa's get value out of halts. Like you're like, oh, that halt led to a hook. That's a great Orisa halt. Like I respect that main tank because he knows how to halt well. Now it's like he halts and he stands and he fortifies in blizzards and you stand on the point and die. And it's hard. It's hard.
And occasionally maybe you'll get a halt pulse bomb, but
Mm.
oh, that was
Oh,
pretty funny
actually,
actually.
yeah. Let's
Oh
talk.
yeah, okay. Okay. I know
That's
the moment
cool.
we're gonna talk about.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
Boston v Justice.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was Busan, it was the Sanctuary, I believe, or
Yeah.
whatever it's called.
Mm.
And then Color Hat's looking so he's going in. He's so confident. He's having a grand time. Misses the pulse. It's on the ground. Who sees him miss that, unfortunately? Roar. What does Roar do? Halts Color Hats into his own pulse bomb and kills him. I was mad, but also laughing,
Yeah.
and I was just like, "Oh my goodness me, Roar, you're disappointed so much, but in that moment, your fans should love you."
Yeah, his whole career flashed before his eyes, and he was like, "Today I win." Boink, gets the
you just
halt.
see, you almost just see Color Heads just going as he's being pulled in, just no. You can see it coming. It
Yeah,
was brutal.
yeah. That's the
Oh
that's
my
the
god.
classic to be continued meme. The dun 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 dun. Dun.
Yeah, that's me. I
Yeah,
bet you're wondering how I got in this situation.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then it just slashes back to Color Heads in like New Zealand.
yeah.
I'm gonna play Overwatch.
This seems like a neat trick. Pull some prequel memes from Star Wars.
Oh my goodness.
Let's
And
try
then
spitting.
oh god, that
Yeah,
was just the start. But
yeah.
we
Well,
ran. Oh my.
yeah.
We still
Well,
have Ariza, but again, I think it's just because we miss more. Like Ariza sometimes can do some dynamic things, but it's less frequent than and impactful. Like Bond was a good ultimate, but it's less flashy and entertaining than like a Fat Shatter or it's a Primal Blade, if you
yeah,
will. Like they
yeah.
call it a Gooch way. It's less visually entertaining.
Yeah, and like if you're watching the game, it's really hard to see how impactful a bongo is, and even sometimes when you're playing, like even when you're Arisa and you put a bongo down, it's hard to see where like if it's valuable and if you're getting value out of it.
If people are missing their shots, like
It's not
it
much
has
you can
no
do.
value.
But
And
that's low
that's that.
elo. Yeah, that's low
Yeah, that's
SR
our problem. That's
problems.
not. That's not, Overwatch League problems. That's just us plebs.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Well, it was a 3-0 for Dallas Fuel. It'll be exciting to see what Dallas Fuel does in the future. And I mean, us from Games My Guy, all we can really say is we go again. Let's see what happens. But at
We
this point, we are solidly a bottom three team.
I put them at, I think, 18. I
Yeah.
think, just and that's being I'm nervous about that, to be quite honest,
Yeah.
because I put them above the Justice, and don't get me wrong, the Justice haven't looked good,
Mm-hmm.
but they did win, which is more than Toronto can say in the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Although Justice also did lose this weekend. I believe they lost. I think to the Gladiators. No, well, yeah, it
Yes,
was
they
the
did.
Gladiators.
It was a 3-1
And
for
then
Gladiators.
how did Gladiators even lose a map? Goddamn. But man,
Yeah.
yeah, I gotta put them at like 18. I can't put them higher than that. I had them after that one win, as most fans do. I got really excited, and I think I bought into the hype real fast. And so I put them at I think I had them at 14th recently, and I think that's where I put the Titans right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think obviously I'm a fan, so I'm biased, but Toronto has to be that low until they show consistent wins. There's only so much. It's even with Boston. Like there's only so many you can give them praise for taking top teams to like 5 maps or whatever, or showing good play. But it only that's hollow praise to a certain degree because it doesn't matter unless they win in the end. Like these guys look great in that game, still lost.
Yeah.
That's still like still 4 maps against you, or 3 maps against you, and a loss on your record that's still preventing you from making playoffs.
Yeah. Like a lot of people can argue that the Dallas Fuel Toronto Defiant game was close because the map scores were close, but at the end of the day, those are three full sets that we lost
Mm-hmm.
consecutively, and you can't argue, especially with our record against Atlanta, just showing how bad that is too.
Yeah,
It,
like
it's hard to see ourselves higher than bottom three right now.
no, that you can't be a team who loses this consistently and be higher than, like I said, like 18.
Yeah,
Like you
it's
need
true.
to show signs of improvement, or something needs to give.
Yeah,
Essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And
yeah.
also, a reason I'm moving around is my computer has 5 minutes left of battery, so I'm frantically get my charger.
We're plugging it in. Yeah. If you don't watch our raw videos on YouTube, you definitely should because you just missed an entire. I guess you were showing your room. We got a little room tour from Ethan. Doc
I didn't
Goose.
even think about that. Oh Jesus!
He's dying. But while he's dying, I think I'm going to talk a little bit about my favorite game of the weekend, just to switch gears. My favorite game of the weekend, and I hope it's a lot of other people's favorite games of that weekend, had to be the Florida Mayhem versus Houston Outlaws game. Went to game 5. It was one of the only 2 games that went to map 5 for the weekend, and it was a bop. Like we were saying, the DPS meta is crazy. You can play whatever the heck you want on DPS, and somehow it works within an Orisa Sigma, Baptiste, Brig comp. It always works for some reason. But yeah, that was a great game to see. It was really exciting to see like Blase doing really well, and it's still funny to see Hydration as the main tank. It's still
Hey
funny
man,
to me.
he's got. He is what he is.
He's a
He
good
came
main
in.
tank.
He is. That's the best
Yeah.
part. Like, who would have thought the solution to the Outlaws' main tank problems, even if Muma is injured, was hydration?
Yeah.
Because the man plays. Yeah, sure, he can play Orisa, but and maybe he plays Ball at Sigma, but like they've had him on like the Ryan and the Winston too, and he's not looked that bad. And
No.
like he's only going to get better because he's playing at a high level and he's understands how the character should be played. All it takes is practice. Hydration could get really good. Will Muma start him? Fuck, I don't know. Because like they're doing well with hydration. They look more coordinated.
Yeah, and they're taking maps off of like big teams like Florida.
Yeah. And we
Um,
talked about like only so much you can say before it's still a loss, but like they 3-0'd them on Blizzard World still. They full held them on Blizzard World.
that's huge.
And like
That's what I
Links
wanted
are
to talk about. Yeah.
you say Links are popping off. When Links has been playing, Linkser has had probably one of his more consistent seasons in a long time, like in the past 3 years.
Totally.
Like he's always been very hot and cold. When he's hot, he's almost unstoppable. But when he's cold, he disappears. But this season, even when he lesser in impact, he's never been like as he doesn't disappear. He still contributes, and
Yeah.
so it's really good for the Outlaws if they can have Linkser develop this consistency.
Yeah, and consistency is exactly the key word there. If Linkser is consistent, he's such a placeholder player for them. Like
Oh yeah,
if they win, it's because Linkser did something usually. And he's a franchise player for them as far as we know, and it's cool to see a franchise player like perform really really well, which is why you and I were super psyched when Agilities was like popping off. We're like, oh
yeah.
man,
We're
this
like,
is awesome.
yes,
Yeah, our
they
boy.
did. Canadian boy on the Genji.
Yeah. But that was a sick game.
You can't
You just
also
saw
not
everything.
like you have to talk about Dante.
Oh my
Like
god.
Dante is a monster this season. Like he was the solution. He's the solution Houston needed in season one. To be quite honest, like his tracer is phenomenal.
Yeah.
His echo is I think it was the echo. Yeah, his echo is really good.
Mhm.
I don't know. Dante's just he is the argue without question. I think the best player on the Houston Outlaws is Dante.
Yeah.
Like you can argue for other people, like oh they're pretty good. No,
Mm.
no one takes over the game for Houston the way Dante does. Even Linkser. That's why I think they pair well together.
Yeah. And Dante on his signature tracer is really fun to watch. Really really fun to watch.
Especially if
Uh
you can go toe to toe with Fusion. Sorry, Florida, because with Yaki,
yeah.
Yaki's a monster as well. Like you could argue the best tracers in NA are like Striker, of course.
Shax.
Chat. I was Chats is number one, but I didn't want to show bias, even
Yeah,
though I do it all the time. And like, yeah, Chats, Striker, Yaki, and Dante are arguably the best tracers in NA, possibly the lead. Like,
Mm.
there's good tracers in APAC. Don't get me wrong, and like people like, I'm like Profit's still over there, man. Okay, you can't discount Profit,
Yeah.
but and Fleta has been really good, but
Yeah.
fine, I'll mention Fleta. I
It
love him.
it
He's so
we
tall. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
jealous.
Yeah. We really won't know how like the NA tracers will compare to the APAC
Yeah,
tracers until they play each other. So it's totally fair to be like in NA, Dante is probably a top 3.
yeah.
Uh
In the league,
in the league, ooh, I don't know.
that's the thing. He's
Top
probably
10.
still like top six,
Mm.
I would say. But again, you don't know. Like it's probably 50-50. If I just pick three from NA, put three from APAC.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a Tracer 1v1 essentially with this group would be sick.
Yeah. That would be fun.
It's
I hope
terrifying and stressful, but
yeah. I would hope that the future All-Stars would do that, because I think
oh,
that's been the funnest thing to watch in this meta, the tracer, like the tracer mirror.
yeah.
I love watching that. So it'd
That
be cool.
high
It'd be
quality
cool.
Tracer play is so good, man.
Yeah.
I love it. That's
Yeah.
one of my favorite things to watch. I'm so happy to see Tracer back.
Yeah.
Again, I'm scared of Tracer when I play, but goddamn, it's so fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about a certain team playing a certain other team that Ethan loves. The Vancouver Boston game, with Vancouver going 3-0 against Boston.
Yes,
Pretty nutty game.
it was. Like on the whole, this was a pretty close game. Not like pretty close, but like it wasn't a stomp.
Mm-hmm.
Like map one was 2-1. Hanamura, there was a 4-3 win for the Titans. So they both completed, like the Titans completed twice, Boston once. But then like Gibraltar was also a 4-3. So but it was a well fought game, but the Titans just had the answer to every time. Boston seemed to have an answer.
Well, you always say yourself that you feel that Boston kind of crumbles under pressure, and like going into extra points, like going into round 2, or going in
Yeah,
even
they
going into round 4 and 3, like that's pretty stressful. It's pretty stressful. And I remember the
they
Hanamura game pretty well.
there was a moment on Hanamura in point two where this is just a prime example.
Yeah.
Like Jerry almost clutched it out his damn self. Like he almost said, "All right, you guys, no one's here. Fuck it, I'm doing it myself." and he got like 4 kills before he was brought down. And there was like Fusions was barely alive at that point. I think he was just like you said, dying on point as Ursa.
Yeah.
But it was just this moment like they just lacked that drive to be able to win in the end. It seems like they can play well, they can bring it to teams. They can't finish it out most of the time, and it's very stressful and sad to see.
Yeah. But Jerry is definitely a huge bright spot for you guys, and we've talked about
Oh
him
yeah,
before. But his Ash is something that I wanted to talk about a little bit. What like the amount of value that kid gets on dynamite explosions is pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts, especially on Hanamura in that point two
yeah.
set. Like he was pretty lights out with those dynamites.
No, no. Jerry's been probably their biggest pickup, I think, because like Myeonbon, everyone knew he was good. Everyone knows Myeonbon is quite good, but no one thought anything really of Jerry other than like some people who had an inkling who had seen him perform well, and then he just comes in and becomes like almost the franchise player
For sure.
because like Fusions is still the face of Boston in a lot of ways, but the player who has the most impact is Jerry most of the time. And Myunbon sometimes will take that position. So I think if they're going because they're dealing with such struggles and they're not doing well, and some will argue there needs to be like a top to bottom rebuild. Like you need
Hmm.
new management, everything like that, and like but Kraft probably doesn't care too much that they're losing. They just care that they're making money, and they are somehow through like trades and things.
Yeah.
But I think if they're going to do some form of changes, like you don't need to get rid of this whole team. You need a coaching staff. You need a better coaching staff right out the gate. Because like if you this team shouldn't be. I'm not saying this team should be like top five, even top 10, but this team with the players they have right now shouldn't be the worst team in the league, which they are, record wise, and they just lost to Justice, so they have to replace the 20th in my eyes. This team shouldn't be 20th. They should be maybe like 15 and above, like between 15 and 10, I think, with the players they have now. But they're not because the team doesn't seem to have just that one little bit of drive. Like they lose it halfway through, they get scared maybe, but they don't seem to be playing to their strengths a lot of the time. Like Colorheads also wasn't playing well on the Tracer, so his pulse spawn, like he's fine with mechanics, but his pulse spawns were so bad, especially on like Hanamura and in the last map of that series because like he was just Hollywood. He was whiffing them
Yeah.
left and right.
Yeah.
Like, he hit a post, I think, and like we talked about, he got killed by his own one,
Yeah.
and so there's something's got to give. And like the fans of Boston are really diehard, but like we haven't really been happy in like 2 years. Like
Yeah,
we there's
it's been a
moments where
long
we
haul for
experienced
you.
it, but yeah, it's just you need to see signs that the team cares. You see signs that the players care. Don't get me wrong, the players put 110% into this game, but you need to see signs that the team cares,
Yeah.
and that's something that's been missing.
Yeah. Totally. And you know, this Boston has been the team that has picked up great players, found great talent and traded it away. And, you know, I think if they started picking players that they want to keep and start fostering that and making something out of the pieces that you have instead of always going back to trying to farm new talent, I would agree. I think the Boston can definitely start picking up games, but it depends on if the roster stays the same through, you know, this summer season. We'll see what happens
That's the
with
thing.
that.
It has to be very demoralizing to think about every year if you're a Boston player. Think I'm probably not going to be on Boston this year. Like, it has to be somewhat demoralizing to think the team doesn't want me anymore, even
Yeah.
when you play well.
Yeah.
Even if you're a player like Jerry, who's like playing really well, am I convinced they'll keep Jerry? No. To
He's
be honest,
yeah.
it's Myeonbon's probably first at the door. To be honest, not because he maybe even wants to go, which he may. It's just some team will want a player like Myeonbon.
It's
I'm not.
and a team that will pay a lot of money to have Myungbong on it.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's a worry, and I want them to do well. But I'm again so serious, super serial today, Patrick. It's
It's all
because I
good, man.
care.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
because I care,
Exactly. Well,
and I want them to do well.
yeah. And you know what? They will prove they will prove your loyalty right one day. I guarantee that. One day you'll feel vindicated.
I'll taste glory again. It's been
Yes.
season one, stage three was a while ago, but we've been riding off that for we've been high off that for years.
Glory, taste the rainbow.
We don't forget.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
We'll get there.
Yeah, exactly. But I think we should close out this podcast episode with talking about some predictions for week 22 and
Yes.
the games coming up on Friday this weekend. We have 4 games that we're gonna do some predictions on, and we got some. It's gonna be a really good set of games, and I think we should start with just our predictions. I mean, the first game that we've got is Dallas versus Paris.
Yes, indeed.
Paris has been looking. I'll start.
Of
Paris has
course.
been looking.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Do I have the floor?
Uh, yes.
Thank you.
I've been receiving from word from our sponsors that yes.
Yeah. I just got word from our producer that I have the floor. Okay, so Paris Eternal has been looking really, really hot, really great. Dallas also looking really, really good, but Paris has had harder matchups in week 20 and week 21, whereas Dallas had Toronto Defiant and not
Yeah.
not middle tier teams. So I'm gonna give the edge to Paris, but I think it's gonna be a close game. I think it's gonna be a 3-1 for Paris. The only reason I'm skeptical to say a 3-2 for Paris is because I've seen how some of these payload maps go, and it's always they go really, really close, but it always goes to one side or the other. So it's going to be a 3-1 for me for Paris.
Interesting. Interesting, Patrick. I would like to throw a wrench into this.
Already?
I'm gonna
Our
say
first discrepancy?
um, this all depends on who plays. I think Only God is fantastic. He's really freaking good.
Yeah.
Let's just say, though, Decay plays. If Decay plays, there's a chance Dallas takes this. I think. I'm not trying to say Only God's bad. I think Only God's really good. In a double hit scan meta, ooh, scary. But the Genji with Decay on like something, I don't know. Decay's just such an explosive player. Ooh, man, I'm gonna give it to Dallas 3-2. I think Dallas could shut down Sparkle, and I'm prepared to be very wrong, but I also want to give some throw just be a little sassy Sally and
yeah.
see what happens.
I like that. A 3-2 for Dallas. I like that a lot, but we'll see.
That's also like that's if Decay plays.
Right. If
Decay doesn't
plays.
play, I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna go with you on 3-1 Paris.
3-1. All right. Cool. So
Also, I'm thinking Dallas has had the rest of the team, not even just their DPS, looked pretty strong recently.
Totally.
But yes,
yeah.
But yeah, all right.
Yeah. FD God will spank. It's fine. Okay, so the next one.
Yeah. We know. Listen. We're talking about FD God. We're bringing up Rochus. We'll talk about it all.
Yeah. They're coming.
Speaking of Rochus.
Speaking of Raucous, the next game for that we're gonna do our prediction on is Houston Outlaws versus Florida Mayhem, a rematch from last week, which was my favorite game. And I want to say it's gonna be another Houston win, but I mean, we're talking Florida Mayhem. We're talking a top 5 team in NA. So I'm going to say it's probably going to be a 3-2 for Florida. I think it's going to be another close one. These two teams play very similarly. So it'll be interesting to see if Florida can keep their advantages and keep ahead when they are ahead and don't get reverse sweep again. And I think Florida is ready for that, mentally at least. So I'm going to give it 3-2 for Florida. Yeah, 3-2 for Florida for me.
I think I'm inclined to agree with you, to be honest, because I think was also really impressed with how Houston played this weekend.
Yeah.
Except in like the last map, though, kind of fell apart. They didn't bring on the last map. But it's the thing. I think Houston sometimes is a momentum-based team. Like Houston can maybe win the first map, they might have a chance. They'll have a better chance of winning entirely, I think.
Yeah.
So, but I think I'm gonna agree with you and give it three. I'm gonna give it 3-2 to
Yeah.
Florida as well,
Yeah.
because like I'm not. Houston looked good, but Florida is looking really good even in that game when they were losing. They still had some good moments, and so I think it's unwise to bet against Florida even if you are a Houston fan.
Yeah, it's hard to forget that they were up 2-0 going into the half. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like that's that's a good team. That's a good team
Yeah.
right there. Yeah. So we
Oh yeah.
both agree Florida.
Yes.
Oh, cute.
Yes.
Poor
Look at
Raucus.
that.
Oh well.
Well, yes, but keep in mind, we do love Rogers with all our hearts.
Yes.
He's the most bodacious man. He's booty is bountiful, and so is his heart.
Yes, exactly.
I don't want to keep saying that in case look in like the 0.1% chance he somehow discovers our podcast. I don't want him to just be. Come on, like, all we talked about is his ass.
Yeah,
Because he's more than an ass.
he
He's a
is.
great. He's actually showed great Zen play.
He is. Yeah, he's a great player, and that's why he's still on the team.
He looked a lot better. Like his mechanics, his aim was really good
Yeah,
this
and
past game. He was
like
getting a lot of picks.
yeah, like look at what the team looked like a year ago, and Raucus is still on that roster. So
I
he's
mean, he won a gold medal, but
yeah, he
of course he was the All Star, should have been MVP. It's fine. Don't worry about
the kid's a monster.
it. Yeah, we love Rockets.
Yeah. And the next game is Toronto Defiant versus the LA Valiant. And Valiant has been playing really hard teams. They've been doing
Mhm.
super, super well. I think this is a 3-0 for Valiant.
I
Shut and
said
close.
like if it was still the meta, if it was like still Tracer Ash, if that was the main meta, this would be a stomp, 100%. And I'm not saying it's not going to be. I
Mm-hmm.
think I gave it three to one.
Okay.
One second. Because look, they did lose to Paris 3-1, but I think that was more of an anomaly because they were still trying to play one thing, and I think sometimes it didn't work out. And Paris was able to counter that with a harsh, the really aggressive Genji.
Yeah.
Like Sparkle is nuts. He plays Genji like he's in the back alleys. He's just,
Yeah. He's taken what's
but
his.
he's not fucking around.
Yeah.
And so, but I think Valiant will learn from that and definitely be able to handle. Even if Agilities is playing really strong on Genji, I think they'll be able to handle him this time because I feel like Paddington's a really freaking good coach, and he would look at that game and see what they did wrong, and be able to coach his team to be able to counter that better.
For
So
sure.
I'm definitely giving it to Valiant. I'm giving it 3-1 because I think there's a chance Toronto could take a map, but even if they take that map, say if it goes 1-1 at the half, I think Valiant at the half will be able to look at what they did wrong better than what Defiant did wrong. What they better than Defiant being able to look at themselves.
Yeah.
So I think
The mental in the virtual dugout is a lot higher on Valiant than it is Defiant.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also just like Dreamer's kind of crazy too. So I think Dreamer's not afraid to jump in there and be nuts, whereas some of the Defiant players would be.
Yeah.
And same with McGravy. McGravy is really good, and McGravy's not afraid to fuck around. He'll just go get him. He'll press W for gauge, as he would say.
Yeah. The only way I want to be disappointed in my prediction here is it's a 3-1 instead of a 3-0. I would love to see Toronto take a map. If we can take the control map, that's all I want. I just want to see us win a map and win it on dive or win it on a comp that we feel really confident on, and just
I love to
show that
see.
we can win something.
Damn right. Just bring
Yeah.
Lane Surefour Roberts out, the Canadian superstar,
Yes.
and have him play Sombra, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
They seem to play well when he plays Sombra. I don't know. It's even when teams encounter it, he looks good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to see. I just like Surefour. I love Logics, but like if it goes to like double hit stand, they're playing Tracer Ash. You have to play Surefour Logics,
For sure.
and I think that could be no. I was saying it could be close, but like Logis is good, but goddamn Shax is scary.
Yeah.
And like KSP as well. Like I don't care who's playing a Widow, sure for Logics. I don't know who would have the who have the best chance against KSP. So I think the Valiant have the upper hand in pretty much every category
Yeah. I
right
would
now.
say so. I would say so.
Yeah, I gave it 3-1, but yeah.
Yeah. 3-1, 3-0. We'll see. We'll see who gets that one exactly right.
It's going to be close. I think
Yeah.
if we're watching that game, like we're right, but who is more
More
right?
right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Whose faith, whose small faith in the Defiant comes out better?
Whose small faith or lack of faith
Yeah,
wins the day?
me. They could win a map, maybe. You? No,
No, it's done.
not happening.
No, I would love to be disappointed with one map loss, but
This is the dream.
it's the dream.
We're at that point in the season with this team right now where our best hope is to be disappointed that they take a map. Not that they win, is that our prediction was wrong by a map.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, the last game that we're going to do our predictions on is the Washington Justice versus the Gladiators, the LA Gladiators. So, yeah, Washington is a bottom 3 team.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
Arguably bottom 2.
yeah, we've been seeing like the way all of these games have been going. The track record has always been a 3-1 or 3-0. So I'm going to say it's going to be a 3-0 for the Gladiators. Not because Washington is super, super bad, but because I think Gladiators have found a consistent level to beat these lower teams.
Yes.
They know how to beat Boston.
Except for, no, they don't know how to beat Boston. They've never beat Boston.
Oh, sorry.
In 3 years of Overwatch League, they have never beat the Boston Uprising.
Good grief. Is that real?
That's a real record.
Oh my God.
I don't know how it's
so
happened.
Weird. Boston is so
Even
weird.
last year when Boston was struggling, they came out and clapped the Gladiators' cheeks. It was a weird game. It was a 3-1 victory. I remember it. It was wait, was it 3-1? Maybe 4-1.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. They won.
That's crazy to me. That's
Yeah,
crazy
awesome.
to me. That's a crazy stat. But I'm still gonna say against
3-0?
Washington, I think that's a 3-0 for Gladiators.
I said the same thing as you were speaking. But even before we started talking about it, I was writing down 3-0 for my prediction because look, did the Justice beat Boston? Yeah, but the Justice had one move. Like they only did one thing.
Yeah.
Remotely well, and that was Nanoblade. Like Tuba's, and that's also Tuba just was able to get massive value over his Nanoblade, whereas because Boston did fuck all to counter it. Mm-hmm. They didn't counter it. They said put Myunbon on Anna, and said sleep him. That can't be your only solution. That's not gonna work. Like maybe even if he sleeps 50% of the Nanoblades, there's still 50% of Nanoblades where he's just killed your entire team getting a 6K.
Yeah.
And but I have more faith that the Gladiators will be able to counter that. Because DP is a really good coach. And I think they should be able to counter a Nanoblade. Yeah. Maybe not all the time, but enough that they can definitely suck the wind out of the Justice's sails. Yeah. And I don't see them being the Gladiators, yeah.
Yeah, and Tuba Nanoblade is not a strat that Washington is trying to hide. That they literally use it every time. They save Nano for him every single time.
And
it works, kill. And it works pretty well. Because Tuba's a great Genji player. Like that's fine.
Oh, we're not denying it still. No.
Yeah, but it's also a thing to be said that in this support meta, there's no defensive ults. It's you're running Baptiste with the Immortality field, and you're running Ana maybe, or it's gonna be Brig. 90%.
And Rally can only do so. Rally's not going to really stop too much of a Nano.
Yeah, and Bash to stun a nanoed Genji really only takes his dash away. Like he can still kill Brig through that.
Oh yeah, and he does every time.
Yeah,
even with Boston. Not that Boston actually probably bashed him most of those Nanoblades, but he even that 6K too, but did get. Yeah, he was bashed at the start of that by Halo.
Yeah, Halo did his job.
Halo did what he could. He did. Even at the final one where he whip shot him and somehow boosted him fucking into the backline. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. Oh wait, no, he's falling right on Myunbon's head, and he's got Nanoblade.
Yeah, that's just a recipe for disaster, man.
You can just, oh my goodness. Yeah, but no, I think the Gladiators should be able to handle that. Like, there's no way, Bird Rain, Kevster, Mirror, Jaru, you got Bidus and Shaz on the back line. Like, whoever's rocking the main tank. If they just pull out some whacked out LH Cloudy shit, the Justice will not be able to handle that. No team has been able to handle the weird Cloudy Ryan positioning. Yes. They're going to get rolled if Cloudy gets on there as Reinhardt. It's so good. He's somehow above you in your back line 50% of the time.
Yeah.
Even when there's no high ground, sometimes he's just
He just
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I love it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm worried. If you're a Justice fan, be scared of it.
Love finds a way, I think is the
Yeah.
best way to put it. Love finds a way. LH Cloudy finds a way. But yeah, that's something like that's something that my little peanut brain can't understand is the fact that there's no defensive ults on the support lines
No.
in this meta. That's something that like my little like plat brain can't figure out. I
We
don't
are
I don't
we are
understand.
too simple to
Too
figure
simple.
out why it's not being run.
Yeah.
I get it. In the neutral fight, maybe you have more value with the bridge,
Right.
maybe, or someone like Bap instead of like a Zen. But come on, man, just
Yeah.
if like say with the Justice, if all they're running is Nano Blade, just try it maybe once. We're not coaches. Like Pat said, we're just simple plat boys, plat gold boys.
Yes.
Sometimes silver and DPS. I don't know if the name too.
Yeah.
But it's just our brains go to couldn't hurt. Try it once.
Yeah.
If you lose that fight, great. Go back to what you were doing. It didn't work.
Yeah. Wouldn't you have loved a sound barrier for this nano blade that's coming at you?
Love it.
Wouldn't you love that?
Trans perhaps.
Trans maybe? Yeah.
Just
I
follow
don't
the
know.
Genji around wherever it goes with the trans.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Who knows?
Either way,
Either way.
it's going to be it's like I would say that's like an 80% chance of it being a 3-0. I'm never going to give 100% because there's always a weird chance, especially with Gladiators, that they just do something goofy. And they lost a map to the Justice this weekend, but I feel they had to have learned.
Yeah.
I think they should learn.
Yeah.
I think they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we will have to find out, like everyone else and everyone listening, on Friday, July the 3rd, to see who if our predictions are correct and see if Gladiators can handle Tuba's nano blades. We'll have to see later in the week. But yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
But that brings us to the end of our podcast episode. If you like the episode, you should follow us on Spotify. We are also on Twitter, which is run by and curated by the lovely Ethan.Goose Butler.
We're up to 45.
45 followers. We're making it happen.
We're on the move.
Yeah, so please come by our Twitter page. You can see everything that Ethan is posting, and that is at GamesMyGuy. If you like the podcast and you want to email us, if you want to be a guest on the podcast, please email us at gamesmyguypodcast@gmail.com. And and if you want to watch this episode on YouTube, we do also post these on our YouTube channel, which is also at GamesMyGuy, one word.
You can see my adventure to the other side of the room.
Yes. Please come watch Ethan try and get a power cord for his laptop.
It was a real time crunch. It was running. I was worried.
I saw the fear in your eyes.
I almost was like, we need to stop.
Yeah, and that look is an exclusive Games My Guy experience on our YouTube page. So please come check that out.
See the generic Team Ireland jersey I got. Am I Irish? No.
Yeah. That's a game I kind of want to start playing. As we post about my predictions about what jersey you're gonna wear for the recording. I think that'd be fun.
I'm gonna try and get some random. I'm gonna get like a League of Legends jersey, I think, and just throw you off.
Yeah, that would mess me up a lot.
What team are you wearing? Fuck you, bitch! It's FlyQuest.
No. Now I'll never know. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next podcast.